Let's talk about affairs. They're the source of endless drama in movies and TV, but in real life, they cause some serious pain. So what if we could just set aside the judgment for a minute and ask, what are the actual reasons people give for doing it? That's what we're going to dive into today, the complicated why behind it all. So yeah, this is the big one, isn't it? The central, and let's be honest, pretty uncomfortable question we're tackling. But our goal here isn't to point fingers. It's really to understand the motivations that people themselves report for making a choice that, well, it ends up affecting so many lives. And I want to be super clear about something right up front. This whole explainer, it's not about what's right or what's wrong. It's all about digging into the reasons people give for their own actions, based on the analysis from our source material. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by facing that uncomfortable question head on. Then we'll look at what happens when a void, an emptiness, forms inside a marriage. After that, we'll explore how things like money and ambition can play a huge role, and we'll touch on that feeling of the life they missed. And we'll wrap it all up by asking a really crucial question. Are these actual reasons, or are they just excuses? All right, so let's get into our first piece of the puzzle. Why even ask this uncomfortable question in the first place? Well, because if you really want to understand a behavior, you have to look past the surface, You've got to dig into the motivations hiding underneath all that judgment. So, where does a story like this often begin? According to our source, one of the most common starting points is a feeling of emptiness, a void, within the marriage itself. It's this sense that the core connection, the thing that held it all together, has started to crumble. You can almost think of it like an iceberg. The affair is the part you see above the water. It's obvious, it's traumatic, but so often it's just a symptom. The real cause is that massive chunk of ice hidden below the surface. All the unaddressed issues, the emotional distance, the breakdowns in communication. So what does this void actually feel like in real life? Well, sometimes it's as simple as the monotony of routine, where life just gets way too predictable. Or maybe it's a lack of a real, deep emotional connection. It could even be the slow, dawning realization that your personalities or your views on life are just fundamentally different. For some people, it's the crushing weight of an unhappy or maybe even a forced marriage, where they feel completely trapped by social pressure, and an affair feels like the only escape. But it's not always about problems inside the relationship. Sometimes the push comes from the outside world, from really powerful forces like money, pure raw ambition, and just sheer opportunity. Our source uses a really powerful metaphor here, comparing an affair to being intoxicated. It's seen as this potent, thrilling, and, sometimes really destructive escape from the day-to-day. And this can be especially true when a lot of money gets involved, which can just fuel that search for a different kind of high. And then you have a much, much colder motivation. In this scenario, ambition is literally the only thing that matters. Forget love, forget connection. It's all about leverage. Other people become nothing more than tools in a strategic game to get ahead personally or professionally. And the process that's described is, well, it's shockingly methodical. Step 1, you find someone who can help you climb the ladder. Step 2, you start a relationship specifically to get leverage. Step 3, you use that connection to get what you want. And finally, step 4, once they're no longer useful, you just discard them and start the whole process over again. It is a chillingly strategic way to look at relationships. Okay, let's shift gears from that cold ambition to something way more internal, something rooted in regret. This next reason is all about the allure of the life they missed. You can basically think of it as a massive, relationship-threatening case of FOMO, fear of missing out. You see this one pop up a lot with people who got married really young. They look around, they see their friends, their colleagues, and they're all living this totally different life. They're dating, they're exploring, they're not tied down, and this powerful sense of what if starts to creep in, making them feel like they completely skipped a crucial chapter of their own lives. And this creates this huge internal battle, right? On one side, you've got the stability and routine of their married life, which can start to feel like this single, super predictable path. But on the other side, there's this idealized fantasy, a world that they see as full of excitement, novelty, freedom, and just endless possibilities. Okay, so we've looked at problems inside the marriage and pressures from the outside. But what if both of those are kind of irrelevant? This last section asks the most challenging question of all. Is the reason for the affair about the situation, or is it simply about the person? And this brings us to a really profound idea from our source, that for some people, the problem isn't their partner, and it isn't even their marriage. The real root cause is something in their own innate nature. The source gives this a name, the insatiable personality. So what does that even mean? Well, basically, it's an individual who can never, ever feel completely fulfilled by just one relationship. They're on this constant hunt for new stimulation, new excitement, and it doesn't matter how amazing their current partner is. So what does this personality type look like? Well, for one, they just feel fundamentally unfulfilled by the idea of monogamy. They have this constant nagging desire for more attention, more variety, more experiences. Their actions are driven by this need that comes from inside them, not because their partner did anything wrong. And this is the real kicker. It means their behavior can't be fixed by finding this so-called perfect partner, because that drive for something new is just part of who they are. So, when you step back and look at the whole picture, the reasons people give for having affairs are all over the map, right? They range from feeling a deep emptiness in a marriage, to being driven by outside forces like ambition, all the way to something that's baked into the very core of a person's character. And that leaves us with one final, pretty powerful question to think about. After exploring all of these different motivations, from the ones that seem almost understandable to the ones that are deeply unsettling, we have to ask ourselves, are these genuine reasons? Or are they just well-crafted rationalizations people tell themselves and others to justify their choices? That's something to chew on.